Even he didn't attack Gabamar. All of them, each chosen individual, were intelligent criminals and incredibly powerful. We learned that a total of 10 people were selected, each accompanied by an executioner. Gabamar was currently traveling with Sajiri. Within a short time, they approached the mysterious island. As they neared the island, Gabamar was struck by an old, buried memory. He remembered the man who had destroyed his parents, the Clean Master. That man had once taken a devastating attack, weapons lodged all over his body, even a sword piercing straight through him. Yet he laughed. And somehow he didn't die. Gabamar suspected the man had absorbed something or drunk something because he claimed he had found something across the far sea that changed his life. Gabamar shared this story with Sajiri, who admitted she didn't know much about the elixir of life. They moved deeper into the island. Though Gabamar's hands were tied, flowers bloomed around them. Still, he knew the danger was real. He tried to reason with Sajiri, asking her to untie his hands so he could protect himself. But Sajiri refused, saying she was instructed to keep all prisoners bound and to ensure they followed the rules. Frustrated, Gabamar asked how he was supposed to survive in a place like this with his hands tied. Sajiri stood firm. Left with no choice, Gabamar walked silently, but then he stopped. "I can't go on like this," he declared, pulling his arms apart so hard that the rope snapped. Sajiri tried to retie him, but Gabamaru exploded. "What are you doing? Don't you realize we've only been given food for 3 days? Do you really think we'll find the elixir of life in just 9? Sajiri, unmoved, replied, "I don't know anything about that. I'm just following orders. I'm not your friend or teammate. I'm only here to keep an eye on you." Gabamar was left wondering, what did these people really want? Did they genuinely believe they'd find the elixir? Regardless, he thought of his wife, the reason he was enduring all this. Without further protest, he tied his own hands again. Just then, a massive iron cannonball came flying and smashed into Gabamar's face, knocking him far back. Sajiri looked toward the source and saw one of the 10 criminals, a brutal man named Cain. Cain was infamous for killing countless people just to steal their weapons. He didn't kill for survival, he killed for pleasure. Even more shocking, Cain's assigned executioner stood beside him, doing nothing to stop him. Gabamaru, fortunately, was unharmed. He turned to Sajiri and pointed out the hypocrisy. Why were his hands tied while Cain was walking free? Sajiri confronted the executioner, who scoffed at the idea. "Tying hands in a place like this? That's stupidity," he said. Gabamaru agreed. The executioner mocked Sajiri, saying she shouldn't have come here if she was going to blindly follow orders. Sajiri then asked why Cain was attacking others instead of looking for the elixir. The executioner explained that Cain wanted to eliminate the competition first, and he had a passion for collecting weapons. Suddenly, Cain attacked Gabamar. He picked one of his many powerful weapons and struck, but it shattered on impact. Undeterred, Cain pulled out another weapon, only for it to break again. Sajiri urged Gabamar to follow the rules regardless of others' actions and asked him to tie his hands once more. Reluctantly, he complied. But Cain wasn't done. He launched several more attacks, none of which could harm Gabamar. Finally, when Cain lunged with his spear, Gabamar blocked the attack, and with just a slight push, sent Cain's entire arsenal of weapons flying into the air. The message was clear: Gabamar wasn't someone to be taken lightly. Although Sajiri was shocked to see Gabamar defeat Ken in a single strike, since until now, no one had managed to defeat Ken, she soon realized Ken wasn't dead yet. He stood back up and launched another attack on Gabamar. But this time, Gabamaru advanced swiftly and used Ken's own weapon against him, delivering a final blow that truly killed him. The executioner who had accompanied Ken decapitated him, needing to return and prove to his superiors that the target had been eliminated. Surprisingly, the executioner seemed a bit relieved, even happy, saying he could now leave this dangerous place sooner than expected. This confused Sajiri, so he explained that the real danger of this island wasn't just the criminals, it was something far worse. Several criminals had already killed their executioners, regardless of how powerful they were. Some used brute strength, while others resorted to tricks and unorthodox techniques. He warned Sajiri that things were only going to get worse, as all the criminals were now advancing toward the island's core. Once they gathered there, no one knew what chaos might unfold. After he left, Sajiri was left wondering whether Gabimaru was a threat or not. She couldn't figure out what was going on in his mind. Just then, Gabimaru unexpectedly attacked her. She was stunned. It finally hit her that this might be Gabimaru's true nature. A fierce fight broke out between them, but Sajiri hesitated to land a serious blow. She always felt uneasy fighting, and it seemed Gabimaru was facing the same inner conflict. He had opportunities to strike but kept holding back. Though defeating Sajiri wouldn't be difficult for him, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Gabimaru started experiencing the same strange emotion he felt with his wife, the very emotion that made him want to avoid getting close to others. He didn't want to grow weak. He resumed his attack, recalling his clan leader's teachings, that he must be strong enough to kill without hesitation. As he pressed on, Sajiri's sword broke. Gabimaru had the perfect opportunity to finish her off, placing her own broken blade to her neck. But something stopped him. His hands wouldn't move. He saw a vision of his wife, holding him back. Tears welled up in his eyes as he confessed, "I'm getting weaker." But Sajiri reassured him. She said, "Emotions don't make you weak. That's just what we've been led to believe. In truth, emotions are our strength." These were the exact words his wife had once told him, and he silently listened, moved. The scene shifted to another group of criminals entering deeper into the jungle. Among them was Tamiya, a skilled swordsman, and his executioner. As they ventured further, they noticed an abundance of flowers and butterflies. Suddenly, a butterfly bit Tamiya's hand. He was confused at first but quickly remembered seeing a man from the Yamada clan whose body had strange plant growth. Realizing the butterfly was poisonous, he didn't hesitate. He drew his sword and sliced off the infected part of his arm. His executioner was left stunned by his quick thinking. Back at Gabimaru's location, they encountered bizarre shark-faced monsters. Gabimaru quickly put on his mask and told Sajiri to stay back and stay alert. But as she got distracted, a monster nearly attacked her. Just in time, Gabimaru finished his fight and rushed in to save her. More monsters soon arrived, but fortunately, another group of criminals and executioners appeared, helping Gabimaru and Sajiri fend them off. Eventually, they formed an alliance. One of them, a girl named Yuzuriha, explained more about the monsters. She had fought many during her own journey through the island and was impressed that Gabimaru had taken down so many alone. Just then, Sajiri was bitten by an insect and fell unconscious. She was taken to a nearby cave to rest. Meanwhile, on another part of the island, more battles were unfolding between criminals and their executioners. When Sajiri regained consciousness, she saw Gabimaru preparing food for everyone. However, they realized they had only been supplied with enough food for 3 days, not nearly enough for the entire mission. Gabimaru learned that the plant-like growths on the bodies of some people contain nutrients, but eating human remains was out of the question. Someone suggested using the animal parts from the monsters they had defeated, as their bodies were half animal and potentially edible. Later that night, an executioner approached Sajiri and advised her to leave the island, claiming it was no place for a woman. Sajiri didn't understand. She considered herself strong. But he insisted she should return home and take care of the clan, implying that she was of no use in battle. His words stung not because of truth, but because of prejudice. Just then, another executioner arrived, prompting the first one to leave. The new executioner sat down with Sajiri and explained to her that she had developed a soft corner for Gabimaru, and it seemed Gabimaru felt the same about her. He warned her that if a situation ever arose where Gabimaru lost control, she would have to kill him, no matter what. The scene then shifted to the ocean, where a small boat was sailing past an island. On this boat were a criminal named Nurugai and an executioner named Ten. They were plotting to escape because survival was their only priority. But out of nowhere, a ferocious monster attacked. Ten fought bravely to protect both himself and Nurugai and ultimately managed to slay the beast, though he was severely injured. With no other option, they were forced to land on the island. Their last hope now rested on the elixir of life. It was here that Ten discovered Nurugai was actually a girl in disguise. Back with Gabimaru and Sajiri, they were having a quiet conversation. Meanwhile, the master who had once told Sajiri to return home was now seen talking to her again. Suddenly, they were attacked by a monstrous criminal known as the Giant. This criminal had already killed his own executioner and was so unnaturally strong from childhood that his body had grown massive and tough like hardened steel. As the Giant prepared to attack Sajiri, Gabimaru arrived and kicked him away with immense force. Sajiri was trying to stop the master's bleeding, but the wounds were too severe. He knew he wouldn't survive. He handed his sword to Sajiri and, apologizing for trying to send her away, urged her to train harder than ever before. Meanwhile, Gabimaru resumed his fierce battle against the Giant. Although his attacks were landing, the Giant's body was so tough, just like Gabimaru's, that they had no visible effect. The Giant retaliated, seriously injuring Gabimaru, whose face was now covered in blood. Sajiri was horrified, but Gabimaru stood up again and said, "This fight isn't over yet." Sajiri joined the fight wielding the sword given by her master. Her first strike managed to slice off one of the Giant's fingers, yet his body remained largely unaffected. As he came in for another attack, Sajiri placed herself between him and Gabimaru, channeling all her emotions and doubts into one powerful slash. Although it didn't finish him, it was her strongest strike yet. Gabimaru then activated his ninja powers, releasing a burst of energy. While it didn't harm the Giant directly, it set the nearby trees ablaze, filling the area with thick smoke. The Giant, now unable to see, stumbled and fell. Gabimaru seized the opportunity, grabbing him while Sajiri launched a final attack. Together, they finally defeated the Giant. With the forest now on fire, they rushed to escape. Sajiri looked back and saw her master, the man who had given her the sword, now lying lifeless. As they exited the forest, they encountered Yuzuriha and her executioner. Yuzuriha commented that the island was far more dangerous than it initially seemed. Elsewhere, another pair, a criminal and an executioner, had made it deeper into the island, battling monsters along the way. There, they encountered two mysterious girls who didn't seem human. The girls were surprised to see anyone survive this deep into the island and offered the two a chance to join their team. But one of the girls objected, saying humans weren't welcome. She then transformed into a boy and suddenly attacked them. Back with Gabimaru, he spotted a strange little girl in a hood, her face hidden. She suddenly ran away, and Gabimaru, suspecting she might hold secrets about the island, chased after her with Sajiri. Along the way, a tree monster appeared to protect the girl. Gabimaru left Yuzuriha and her executioner to deal with it and continued his chase with Sajiri. Just as Gabimaru was about to catch the girl, she displayed incredible strength, and when she began to cry, the surrounding vines and trees came alive and attacked him. Though he had caught her, Sajiri convinced him to let her go. Sajiri then gently approached the girl like a mother, soothing her until she finally fell asleep. Yuzuriha and her executioners soon arrived, claiming they had defeated the tree monster. But suddenly, the monster began to speak, requesting that they leave the little girl alone. In return, it offered them all the food they wanted, and even information about the elixir of life. Everyone was shocked. Yuzuriha hesitated, skeptical of trusting it, but the tree monster suggested a nearby hot spring where they could rest. Surprisingly, Yuzuriha agreed and rushed ahead. There, they discovered a ruined village, long destroyed centuries ago. The tree monster returned with food and began to explain the truth. The elixir of life was real, and they had indeed come to the right island, but finding it wouldn't be easy. He told them the island was divided into 3 major regions, each more dangerous than the last. The tree monster, now speaking fluently, continued explaining the secrets behind the elixir of life. He introduced himself as Doro and the mysterious little girl as May. According to him, the elixir truly exists, but obtaining it wouldn't be easy. The island, as he explained, is divided into 3 distinct regions, each more dangerous than the last. The location of the elixir is hidden deep within one of these zones. However, the full explanation was quite complex, so he promised to reveal more as they progressed. Suddenly, the scene cuts back to the 2 individuals who had earlier encountered the strange shape-shifting beings. the ones who turned into a boy mid-fight. The battle was still raging. The creature, originally appearing as a girl, kept regenerating after every fatal blow, making it seemingly impossible to defeat. Eventually, it overpowered the two and threw them into a massive pit. Just as flowers began blooming from their bodies, a sign of impending death, something intervened, and they were spared at the last moment. Back with Gabimaru and the others, Doro shared more revelations about the island's mysteries. Meanwhile, Tenzo and Nurugai, who, although appearing boyish, was actually a girl, were still traveling through the wilderness. They hesitated, unsure whether to continue forward. Suddenly, they sensed a presence behind them. When they turned, a boy was standing there, but he had appeared out of nowhere, as the ocean was behind them and the island lay ahead. They couldn't understand where he had come from. The story then delved into Tenzo's tragic past. As a child, his parents neglected him entirely. They neither cared for him nor wanted him alive. Often left hungry and abandoned, Tenzo began stealing out of necessity. He never stole out of greed, only when starvation pushed him to the edge. One day, he crossed paths with a group of thugs. Though they seemed tough, Tenzo beat them all down effortlessly. Then, a man appeared before him, drawing a sword, a moment that would shape Tenzo's future. Back in the present, the mysterious boy now facing Tenzo and Nurugai began changing. His face shifted, confirming he was one of the same beings they had encountered before, beings capable of transforming and regenerating. He declared, "We won't let you humans enter our island. We don't want trouble." Without warning, he charged at them. Caught off guard, Tenzo was launched backward, crashing hard into a tree. The boy's strength was extraordinary, and both Tenzo and Nurugai immediately realized they were dealing with something far beyond human. The boy now targeted Nurugai, but she managed to dodge his attacks with impressive agility. Just when things looked bleak, Tenzo rushed in at full speed and slashed the boy's eyes. Temporarily blinded, it seemed like they had a chance, but the eyes began healing almost instantly. This regeneration was identical to what the earlier enemies had displayed. Tenzo and Nurugai, now alarmed, knew they couldn't win in a direct fight. Tenzo made a quick decision. "Don't fight back," he told Nurugai. "Just run toward the island." Then, launching himself at the enemy with full force, Tenzo slashed his body into pieces. While the body parts began to reassemble, Tenzo and Nurugai made their escape, sprinting toward the island, knowing that danger was far from over and the hunt had just begun. That boy was once again chasing after them. Tenzo kept trying to slow him down, but the boy's speed was unreal. He was running neck to neck with them, matching their pace effortlessly. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a weapon slashed through the air and cleanly cut the boy's neck. While it was clear the boy's body would regenerate again, this attack had bought them a crucial moment of relief. To their surprise, it was Master Sen, Tenzo's blind mentor, who had thrown the weapon with pinpoint accuracy. Though he couldn't see, Master Sen never missed. The three of them, Tenzo, Nurugai, and Master Sen, began sprinting away at incredible speed. Nurugai was stunned by how fast Master Sen was moving, considering he was blind. She turned to Tenzo, asking how this was even possible. Tenzo explained, "My master may be blind, but he senses everything, through vibrations, sound, and even smell. He doesn't need eyes to see." Eventually, they reached a quiet spot deep in the forest. There, Tenzo formally introduced Nurugai to his master. But the reunion wasn't all praise. Master Sen turned to Tenzo and, in his usual stern tone, said, "You should be more careful. The way you fought that boy was reckless. That's why I had to step in. Next time, if you want to survive, fight smart, not just hard." Nurugai was amazed. Here they were, on a deadly island, barely surviving 10 minutes at a time, and these two were having a master-student lecture in the middle of it all. It made her realize how deep their training and bond must be. Tenzo then asked what his master was even doing here, and what had happened to the criminal who was supposed to be with him. Master Sen's face darkened slightly. "The girl who was with me betrayed me," he said quietly, "so I had to take care of her." He explained that he had originally been trying to leave the island, But while departing, he sensed the presence of numerous strange monsters on the island. So instead of escaping, he turned back to help his comrades. But just as he finished explaining, that same regenerating boy returned, and this time, he wasn't alone. The creature lunged straight at Tenzo and Nurugai, but Masterson reacted instantly, shielding them both. However, in the process, the enemy struck a brutal blow to Masterson's neck. The injury was severe, blood poured down as he stumbled back, but he remained standing, defiant. Meanwhile, Tenzo engaged the boy again in combat. But now the boy had grown even faster, to the point where he dodged every single strike with ease. A cold smile appeared on the boy's face. "I've already calculated your speed," he said mockingly. "You can't touch me anymore." Tenzo clenched his fists. The fight had just become personal and far more dangerous. The boy launched a devastating attack on Tenzo, and within seconds, Tenzo's body was covered in deep, brutal injuries. As he collapsed to the ground, everything around him blurred, and in that haze, his mind drifted to the past. We are taken back to a younger Tenzo, standing before the man who had once pointed a sword at him. None other than Master Senator. It was in that moment that Masterson had chosen Tenzo as his student. He wasn't the only one under Sen's guidance. Many others trained under him, but Tenzo was different, rough, unskilled, and full of doubt. Tenzo had once asked, "Why me?" And Masterson simply replied, "Because I saw something in you, potential. A hunger to become something more. One day you'll understand." But Tenzo had struggled. He wasn't good at swordsmanship. He couldn't fight well. He had no technique. "I don't think I can do this," he'd said, ready to walk away. But Masterson had stopped him. "You're not leaving," Sen told him sternly. "You will train. If you follow the discipline, you'll become strong." Still, Tenzo resisted. "I just want to live a normal life." Masterson paused for a moment, then said something that shook Tenzo to the core. "If that's truly what you want, then before you leave, you'll have to defeat me." Tenzo didn't understand. He stepped out, confused and shaken. Outside, he encountered the red-haired man, who listened silently to his story before nodding. "So, he told you that too," the man said grimly. He then led Tenzo to a nearby graveyard and pointed to a specific grave. This was one of Master Sen's previous students. He said the same thing, that he didn't want to train. Sen let him go. But the world didn't. The boy was captured and sentenced. And guess who was ordered to execute him? Tenzo's eyes widened. Yes, Master Senator, he never wanted to do it. But he had no choice. The red-haired man turned to Tenzo. "That's why he told you to defeat him. He didn't want to face the same loss again. If you're going to walk away, he needs to be sure he won't be forced to kill you later." That day, Tenzo understood. Everything Sen did was for his students' sake. Motivated by that truth, Tenzo threw himself into his training. He endured pain, failure, and exhaustion, but he didn't quit. Slowly but surely, he grew stronger. He wasn't the same boy anymore. We cut back to the present. Bleeding, barely able to stand, Tenzo opened his eyes to see both Master Sen and Nurugai in danger. His body screamed in pain, but his heart screamed louder, "Protect them." Fueled by sheer willpower, Tenzo rose to his feet and charged at the boy once again, attacking with everything he had. He didn't care about winning, he just wanted to give the others a chance to escape. When Masterson tried to step in, Tenzo stopped him. "You need to go. Take Nurugai and run." Masterson hesitated, torn. But after Tenzo insisted, he finally obeyed. They fled. Moments later, Tenzo was defeated. The boy stood over him, impressed. "You're brave." Far away, Master Sen and Nurugai had reached safety. But Nurugai was furious. "You just left him there to die?" Master Sen's voice was heavy. "He chose to sacrifice himself so we could survive. If I had stayed, we all would have died. I didn't want this, but I'll keep the promise I made. I will avenge him." On the outside, he looked calm, cold even, but inside, Masterson was torn apart. His mind kept flashing back to Tenzo's journey, the boy he had trained, mentored, and believed in. Leaving him behind had shattered something within him. He never wanted to abandon Tenzo. But sometimes, survival demands the unthinkable. Back at the group's camp, we see Gabimaru and the others gathering information from the tree monster. The intel was so overwhelming that their heads began to ache. They eventually decide to pause for the night and resume tomorrow. Everyone sleeps while Gabimaru takes up guard duty, ensuring no monsters sneak in during the night. In another scene, we flash back to a conversation the tree monster had earlier. It had mentioned a mysterious location but gave very few details. Gabimaru, driven by curiosity and determination, decides to venture out to this place. When he arrives, he unexpectedly encounters the same boy who had just fought Tenjo. The boy, clearly exhausted and disinterested, lazily tells Gabimaru to leave. He has no desire to fight another human. But Gabimaru questions him directly, asking if he too is searching for the elixir of life. Hearing this, the boy is shocked. He immediately gets serious and launches a surprise attack. Gabimaru counters quickly, damaging the boy's heart and striking his face hard. Despite the massive damage, the boy's body begins healing itself instantly. Shocked, Gabimaru wonders aloud, "Are you one of the Tensen?" The tree monster had earlier revealed that these humanoid entities, known as Tensen, total 10 in number and are incredibly powerful. At the same time, the boy was just as shocked that Gabimaru's body was also healing quickly from attacks. Gabimaru switches tactics and unleashes his fire technique, trying to burn the boy. While the flames did injure him, the boy once again healed rapidly. Their brutal fight resumes with even greater intensity. Gabimaru keeps pushing, increasing his attack speed, but the boy suddenly steps back and transforms, shifting into a more feminine form, revealing his true energy. Now in full power, his speed and aggression multiply. Gabimaru, realizing he won't get any answers, decides to finish the fight. The boy takes massive hits and collapses. As Gabimaru asks him once again about the elixir of life, the boy simply smiles and says, "We'll meet again soon," before his body erupts in flowers. He transforms into a monstrous flower creature, bigger and far more powerful than before. The flower monster begins using lightning-based attacks, while Gabimaru's fire powers seem to have no effect now. Gabimaru is overwhelmed and starts to lose consciousness. As he fades, he reflects on how insanely powerful the monsters on this island are, and that the Tensen are just one kind among many. He blacks out and finds himself in a dream with his wife. It's a peaceful moment, but he knows he can't stay there. If he doesn't wake up, he'll die. Snapping back to reality, he finds the flower monster holding him captive. Remembering his clan leader's words, "Never give up, no matter what," Gabimaru summons his most powerful technique and unleashes a massive wave of fire from his body. Still, the flower monster remains unaffected, but then, out of nowhere, Mei arrives. She creates a protective bubble and rescues Gabimaru just in time. The flower monster reverts to its humanoid Tensen form, visibly confused. Why did Mei save him? Meanwhile, the next morning at camp, everyone wakes up and realizes that both Gabimaru and Mei are missing. Sajiri grows anxious, wondering where he could have gone. Yuzuriha speculates that Gabimaru might have gone to Horai, the location mentioned by the tree monster. That's exactly where he was. Determined, Sajiri sets off to find him. The others question her motives, reminding her that Gabimaru is a criminal. Why risk everything for him? But Sajiri can't explain it. She just knows she has to go. Eventually, the others agree to join her. As they trek through the forest, Sajiri is visibly anxious. She knows they're likely to face the Tensen, beings whose power levels are still mostly unknown. The tree monster had explained that defeating a Tensen is nearly impossible, as they have already mastered all forms of mythical energies. We learn here that the tree monsters and the Tensen were once human. At some point, something changed them. Some became rooted tree beings, while others ascended to the Tensen form. Families would pray that their children would become Tensen, because at least they still looked human. The scene then shifts to the Tensen themselves. They are now gathered, discussing something trivial, debating whether they are truly male or female, given their ability to shift between both. But the discussion quickly turns serious as one of the Tensen arrives with alarming news. He reports that one of their own, the one who fought Master Sen and Tenjo, let them escape. This enrages another Tensen, who believes such mercy is unacceptable. Consumed by rage, that Tensen immediately launched a powerful attack, blasting him with a devastating force. Though he still possessed the ability to regenerate, this time his body wasn't recovering as quickly as before. The impact was severe, and for the first time, it seemed like his healing powers were faltering, showing visible signs of strain. They now realize the intruders on the island are unlike any they've dealt with before, and they must decide what to do with them next.